It begins with me falling in love with who I thought was the most perfect woman in this world, but who turned out to be one devil. Time reveals people's faces, taking their pretty masks off and exposing their ugly realities. Later, we have the choice to make the best out of the truth we have been handed by life. I met Miley 6 years ago. I had gone to the nursery to buy some plants for my apartment. I had just shifted into this new apartment and was shopping for it. I do not prefer flowers and plants, but the apartment looked dull and boring. A touch of flowers would make it look more cheerful. I stepped into the nursery with zero knowledge about plants and flowers. I stood in an aisle looking at the hundreds of colorful flowers around me. I scratched my head and wondered what would look best in the apartment. That was when Mills stepped in. "Are you thinking about what to choose?" I looked back and saw a beautiful woman wearing the brightest smile on her lips. She radiated positivity and goodness throughout her existence. "Yeah. I have no idea about this stuff. I just came to pick something up from my apartment," I answered her, trying to sound as cheerful as her. "I can help you out. I work here and can confidently admit that I know a lot about all this. Can you show me some picture of your apartment so I can give you suggestions accordingly?" She said all of it, in a single sentence. "Yeah. Sure." I took my phone out of my pocket and opened the pictures I had sent my mom to show her the apartment. She began to go through the pictures and said, "Well, first of all, you have a wonderful apartment." I mumbled a thank you. "Now, coming to the flowers, your apartment has the white color in abundance. So it's best to go green. A little bit of purple will add contrast to it." I nodded my head in affirmation. "Since you told me you are not really into plants, I will pick out the easy plants to keep. They just need to be watered once in 2 or 3 days, so that won't bother you a lot and it won't be hard for you to care for them." I listened to her, carefully mesmerized by how much she knew at what she was doing, as I paid for the plants on the counter. The only thing running through my head was I have got to ask her for her number. I have to ask her out. She seems wonderful. I was about to leave the nursery but turned around and walked back to that woman. "I was wondering if I could have your name and number." I hesitantly spoke. Her face turned into a beautiful smile again as she said, "Sure. I am Miley, and here's my number." She wrote it down on paper and handed it to me. "I am Joseph. I will call you." She nodded. And I walked away with a smile. That night, I texted her with a small text asking her out. She instantly replied and agreed. We met in a local restaurant. I told her about my tedious office job and how much I hated it. Miley told me about her passion for gardening and how she loved her job dearly. We took things slow. Although I knew I was falling in love with her, we got married after 3 years. Both of our families were very happy with our decision. As we married, I had to move in with Miley because of her garden. She did not want to abandon it at any cost. Therefore, I had to rent my apartment and go live with her. Our marriage was happy. There was no toxicity, jealousy, or drama as people often start doing after getting married. We were really good to each other until that day. Miley threw it all away by betraying and cheating on me with some guy from her school. Until the day Miley decided to throw it all away by betraying and cheating on me with some guy from her school. I was at work when Alan called. Alan is my neighbor and an excellent friend. It was not normal for him to contact me at that hour of the day. Usually, if there was something to talk about, he came by the house in the evening. This made me think that it might be an emergency. So I picked up his phone despite having no time since I was swamped with work. "Hey, Alan," I said as I answered the phone. "Hi, Joseph. I know you must be busy. But I had to tell you something and it could not wait." Joseph sounded anxious. "Yeah. Go on. I am listening. I had just dropped by your house to ask for the lawnmower." I was about to ring the bell when I heard noises coming from inside. "What sort of noises?" I inquired. I don't know how to say this, but they were the noises of two people having sex. I just wanted to let you know. I am sorry, man. Alan answered hesitantly. I flew into a rage. What the hell are you saying? This can't be true. I shouted into the phone. I know, Joseph. Sorry, but I just had to tell you what I heard. I cut the call as it was hard for me to carry this conversation any further. I could feel my blood pressure shoot. I was pondering over the fact that Alan may be mistaken. Or what if he was not mistaken? What if it was all true, and Miley really was cheating on me? That night, as I was going home, I was entrapped in weird thoughts. I wanted to confront Miley immediately, but it would have needed to be more helpful. She would have denied it, and I had no proof of it. And if it was not true, that confrontation would have ruined our otherwise normal relationship. I decided to calm myself and look for evidence before confronting Mile. Therefore, I had to pretend as if nothing had happened. As I got home, I began to observe her to see a change in her behavior. Apparently, there was nothing different, and she seemed to be her usual self. Nothing seemed abnormal. So I had to get to the bottom of this in some other way. I had to get a hold of Miley's phone and see if something was there. We were different from the sort of couple who had access to each other's phones. Both of us believed in respecting one's personal space and privacy. I wondered if Miley had used it for infidelity, since I was the most paranoid, so I had to do it. Miley was typing the password on her phone and I peeked in to glimpse it. 5467. Got it. As Miley went to take a shower, I opened her phone and began to scroll through her messages. There was nothing there. I opened the call log next. There was no unusual number except this one number that had a lot of missed calls. All of them were unanswered. I found it weird, so I noted that number and sent it to a friend who worked as a private investigator. My friend told me that the number was registered in the name of some John Miller. John Miller was Miley's old friend from high school. I met him once a long time ago. It was weird that Miley had not saved his number in her phone. It seemed fishy to me, so I decided to watch Miley and find out the truth. Days passed, and we kept living our lives normally. Alan met me 2 days after the call. He did not mention the dreaded subject, so I did it myself. I told him I was looking into the matter and looking for proof, but I got nothing even after weeks. Until finally, one day, I got home early. Miley was working in the garden. I came through the back door and she did not hear me approach her. She was talking on call. No. Tomorrow isn't good. Joseph will be home the whole day. I will let you know when he goes out of town so you can come over. I clutched my heart literally. Yeah, I miss you too, John. See you soon. Hopefully, bye. She cut the call and put the phone on the table. She sat there for a few minutes, making it easier for me to not jump up on her. So she'd know I overheard her conversation. Hey, Miley. I am home. I announced casually. Hi, sweetheart. She turned around and gave me a kiss on the cheek. Wow. She acts as if she is just not talking to another guy. I kissed her back because, of course, I would not let her get away so quickly. I was devastated and broken from the inside, but I was acting all normal on the outside. The next step was to think of a good revenge plan. I thought about many things, but the final decision focused on hurting Mile through everything that was dearest to her. I began with her favorite belongings. She was out with friends and I broke her favorite vase that her parents had given to her. Miley always said it was close to her heart, so I had to break it. Miley came home and found it broken. She asked me about it, but I told her I had been at work and knew nothing. She was really saddened by it. Next, I ruined her favorite white shirt. I offered to do the laundry and mixed it up with other clothes which were destroyed. Mile was sorrowful when she saw her shirt. The look on her face made me satisfied. Now, for the bigger one, I had to target the most precious thing to Miley. I would have thought I was the most precious to her a month ago, but now since I had seen the truth, I knew it was not me. It was Miley's garden. All those plants that she considered her babies had to die. That would shatter her. I was sure about that. And all I wanted was to break her into a million pieces, just like my heart had. Following Monday, Miley went to visit her parents. She would spend the day with them and return home at night. I had the whole day to myself to work on my plan. I had already bought the poison that would kill most of Molly's plants, but would make it look like they had died of some natural disease. This way, there was no chance of her knowing that someone else had poisoned them. When Mill left the house, I got to work and wore my gloves. The poison was deadly enough to affect the skin if it came in contact with it. I carefully poured a few drops of it on all the plants. It reacted in 2 hours, and the plant started to look weird. I left the house in the evening to hang out with some friends from work. I did not want to be there when Miley got home. I was at a bar drinking at night when I got a call from Miley. She sounded distressed and panicked. "Joseph, something has happened in the garden. There is a bad smell and all the plants look like they are dying. Please come home. I am so worried. I don't know what to do," she was blabbering. "I am on my way, babe," I said, trying to sound as concerned as possible. I paid for my drink and got into the car to go home. As I got home, I found Miley crouched on the floor, literally. She had tears in her eyes. She looked far from ordinary. "Hey, what happened here?" I rushed to her and asked. "I just got home, and something has happened in the garden. They are dying, Joseph." Miley started crying. I hugged her and tried to comfort her. It was impossible to make her stop crying. I lifted her and took her inside. I am not embarrassed to admit that I felt the happiest inside my heart. I don't care if it sounds sadistic, but it gave me immense satisfaction. This is precisely how I wanted Miley to cry and hurt. The following day, Miley called the local nursery. Some professionals from the nursery came by our house to look at the garden and see what had to be done. They observed the plants. It's an uncommon disease. It seems as if you had not been punctual when spraying insecticides. One of them said, "But I am extremely regular in taking care of these things. I take good care of these things. I take good care of them." Miley cried. "We don't know, ma'am, but that apparently happened here. There is no way to save them. Once all these plants have withered, you will have to get insecticides sprayed all over before planting new flowers," the professionals explained. That day, Miley was highly depressed. She hardly ate or drank at all. I kept pretending to take care of her and kept buffering her food. The next day, Miley stayed in her bed. She was too depressed to do anything. I had to make her breakfast to make it look like I cared. That day, I did not go to work. Instead, I went to my lawyer and filed a divorce. I had hurt Miley as much as I wanted to. I knew it would take her a long time to recover from the sorrow of the ruination of her garden. I just wanted to get rid of her completely and permanently. That night, I did not go home and stayed at a friend's house. I got no calls or texts of concerns from Miley. I knew she was already devastated and she did not care about me otherwise either. The next day, I went home, packed my stuff to move out and told Miley about the divorce. She looked shocked and could hardly utter the words. "Why, you know the reason better than I do. You cheated on me. I ruined the things closest to you. Now I am moving out, and may we never talk again." I walked away and I could hear her screams in wails at the realization that I knew everything and that I was the one who killed her plants. Stop. Most of you are not subscribed. Remember to like and subscribe if you like the video. Everything helps for the algorithm.